says konnichiwa. And yobuso. We'll hear the POLIT'AI CHI. Talking briefly and concisely about slideshow, montage, the video highlights in full coming up. Your presence through watching is honored. Hi. Okay, so the Dems, not even waiting a day. Tacky timing, title to this particular episode as well. Gotta love Sean, he's always on top of it. Now, while they're talking about gun control in the midst of people still trying to recover, who survived, who witnessed what they witnessed, a little interesting juxtaposition going on there. A whole lot of different perspectives going on. Jeff Zeleny, used to like watching him on CNN when I was converting over from MSNBC to Fox. What happened, dude? It's a little bit like Joe Scarborough-itis. And the POLIT'AI CHI's new favorite centrist Democrat, Henry Guillar of Texas. That's the reason for the pirate. Roll.
Happened, why this happened. It seemed a little premature to you to wade right into a complex debate like gun control within hours of this happening.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think we need to wait, let the first responders, let the law enforcement find out exactly what happened, then we can have another debate. I mean, right now we pray for the families. We, we thank the first responders for doing a good job, but they still got a lot of work because it's, just listen to all those stories. It just doesn't make sense. And at a young age, and to take guns away, we know that somebody can kill somebody using an airplane, a knife, a truck. I mean, there's so many items. Oh, yeah, exactly. But just taking guns away from everybody is not going to solve the issue.
Why do people keep saying that? I mean, can you think of a single place in the United States that has become safe because of gun control?
No.
All right, so I did a couple little snippets there, cut two, but you'll get the interview in full, because unlike a lot of media outlets who show just a little cut from to support their particular perspective on whatever they're talking about on that particular episode, the POLIT'AI CHI will bring it to you in full. I take only that part to justify the POLIT'AI, which is, we need less of her and more of him in the leadership. Centrist Democrats, centrist Republicans. That's what this channel and hashtag is all about. Alright, thanks for watching. No easily preventable DUIs while you're out there. I used to say silly. It's been the closing punchline on the OMSR and TPTC for 5 years. What I have always meant by that is I got a DUI from driving half a block. But it's much more serious than that. A lot of DUIs can affect other people's lives. So it was easily preventable, as in the form of, or like, they are all easily preventable.
Hillary Clinton wasted not a second leveraging the attacks in Las Vegas. This morning she tweeted, quote, "The crowd fled at the sound of gunshots. Imagine the deaths if the shooter had a silencer, which the NRA wants to make easier to get." Clinton then added, without a trace of irony, "Our grief is not enough. We must put politics aside, stand up to the NRA, and work together to try to stop this from happening again." Tammy Bruce is a radio show host, and she joins us tonight. Tammy, what was your response to Hillary Clinton's tweet?
Well, it was shocking, and it was also ghoulish. She put out that tweet at about 7:15 in the morning Eastern Time. The police in Las Vegas were still removing bodies as of 2 p.m. Pacific Time. We also know that not everyone had died right up until, we still had more deaths. This is a woman without any details, without any elements of information, moving immediately into a political framework and immediately going into the pet issue. Now look, Americans know that, as you've discussed your entire show here, that we have a problem, that we're going to be dealing with what caused this and the issue of the firearms. But when you go to the element of the guns, what it does is it sucks all the air out of the room, Tucker, to deal with the underlying major issue, which is the human condition that drives this issue. And just as one example, Mayo Clinic says 70% of people in America are on a prescription drug. Opioids and antidepressants being the majority of them. Over 50% of Americans are on at least 2 prescription drugs. The things that we never discuss, which is the nature of what would push someone over a ledge like this in the modern age, never is addressed because we all get moved in by politicians to this issue. And, exactly. And you know, we're going to find out what made this an automatic weapon. We're going to address that. But it immediately divides. It immediately removes the compassion within the nature of what we should be doing today. And I think Americans, this is exactly what Americans are tired of.
So flesh that out a little bit, and I should just state the obvious, which is I'm hardly a doctor, and I have no evidence that prescription drug use has anything to do with this. But I've long suspected that there probably are effects. If you have a huge percentage of the country on mind-altering drugs, why wouldn't their behavior change?
Well, at least we need to begin to ask. And because we don't ask that question. In addition to, as you brought up in your program, the issue of media, the nature of the horrible, bloody carnage that we've been watching for years since September 11th, 2001, if we're becoming inured in a certain way. But this is the human condition. This is what we have to deal with. But then there's also the hypocrisy of Washington and of someone like Mrs. Clinton, who in that Tennessee church shooting, where one woman was murdered, 7 injured, and the massacre only stopped because of a heroic usher. She has said, I found this hard to believe, but it's true, nothing about that particular attack. And if the issue really is about guns, we don't see a consistency in this. And in the meantime, we struggle as a society to want to find the solutions as we elevate the heroes that we see in the midst of something like this. And this is also, again, what Americans are seeing about the condition of our society, how politicians are not necessarily saying and doing the right thing, and how we're tired of being divided in this regard.
I would like to get to the deeper questions. I think it's a really smart point. Tacky, thank you.
Now, this isn't bad enough. Look at some of the tweets. Look at these statements coming from Democrats calling again for gun control just within hours after the massacre happened. This is so shameful. Elizabeth Warren, thoughts and prayers, they're not enough. Not when moms and dads will bury kids this week and more sons and daughters will grow up without parents. Nancy Pelosi, she's out there calling on Speaker Paul Ryan to create a select committee to examine gun violence in America. Hillary Clinton, she took things further, going after the NRA. Here's what she tweeted, quote, "Our grief isn't enough. We can and must put politics aside and stand up to the NRA and work together to try and stop all of this from happening again." Beyond disgusting, inappropriate, and pathetic. Now, Clinton weighed in less than 9 hours after the shooting and went deep into the gutter of politics she said she doesn't want to play. Here's my question. Do they have any decency? Any thoughts about the families? We don't know the details yet, but this is their initial impulse. Keep watching the images on the side of your screen tonight. Has anyone on the left criticized Hillary or other Democrats for making this point? I don't see it. Imagine if the president today brought up the Second Amendment. How would the news media in this country have reacted? We don't know the motivation of this lunatic. We know it's premeditated. We know it's evil. I can make 100 different arguments. If it wasn't a gun, it would be a car or a bomb or whatever. The only thing the Democrats should be focused on tonight, the country needs to be focused on, the victims that are in the hospital, their families, and the investigation, because we don't have facts. But instead, they couldn't even wait a half a day to play politics. Shameful. And members of the media, they're also going directly after the victims. Liberal CNN, Jeff Zeleny suggested the only reason he's going to Vegas is because the victims in the audience may have been his supporters. Really? That's pretty twisted and very sick. Watch.
Of course, Las Vegas is a town that he is connected to and knows well. His name is emblazoned on the top of a hotel there as well. He campaigned there a lot. So this is something that I'm not surprised at all to see him go there visiting early. Something else I think to keep in mind, a lot of these country music supporters were likely Trump supporters, and this is something that, of course, is hitting the tapestry of all Americans, and there are going to be victims from across the country here.
And sadly, it gets even worse. A top lawyer for CBS was fired earlier today after writing on Facebook. Listen to this, quote, "If they wouldn't do anything when children were murdered, I have no hope that Republicans will ever do the right thing. I'm actually, listen to this, not even sympathetic, because country music fans are often Republican gun toters." Wow, this has nothing to do about which party you support. Those Those were Americans that were shot. Those were Americans fighting for their lives. These tragedies happened under Democratic presidents too. You don't believe me? Look at the mass shootings where 8 or more died under President Bill Clinton, including Columbine High School. And here's all the mass shootings using the same metrics that happened under President Obama, if you're so desperate to play politics. You also have the Washington Navy Yard and Sandy Hook, also the shooting at Fort Hood. These were all tragedies. The people that carry out these acts are despicable, deranged, and evil. You know what? The right didn't do what Bill Clinton did after the Oklahoma City bombing and blame talk radio and fertilizer. And guess what? We didn't blame Barack Obama for tragedies that happened on his watch. My main criticism was him not identifying radical Islamic terrorism when it was so obvious and true. Exploiting the shooting is pathetic. It's the most pathetic thing the Democrats and the media is doing right now. Yet every single time something like this takes place, they rush to judgment without facts, immediately calling for stricter gun control. The lack of sympathy for the families that the media won't show and the left isn't showing speaks volumes. And it's not.
It wasn't hours after this event that some politicians in Washington called for new gun legislation in the wake of the shootings. Congressman Henry Cuellar represents the state of Texas. He's a Democrat. He had an A+ rating from the NRA. He joins us tonight to assess this. So, Congressman, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.
So we don't even know the basic answers to the questions of why this happened. Does it seem a little premature to you to wade right into a complex debate like gun control within hours of this happening?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think we need to wait, let the first responders, let the law enforcement find out exactly what happened, then we can have another debate. I mean, right now we pray for the families. We, we thank the first responders for doing a good job, but they still got a lot of work because it's, just listen to all those stories. It just doesn't make sense. He doesn't fit the pattern of somebody that would do something like this, especially somebody at that particular age.
So you grew up on a ranch in Texas, hunting. You must have been surrounded by guns because ranches are filled with guns.
I learned at a very young age from my father how to hunt.
Yeah.
So did my brothers. In fact, I got 3 brothers that are peace officers. So we've been around guns from a very young age. And again, even if you take guns away, we know that somebody can kill somebody using an airplane, a knife, a truck. I mean, there's so many items. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think we need to just let the law enforcement do the work, and we can always have time for political debates.
It's just when people come out immediately after an event like this without knowing any of the facts, it suggests to the rest of us that they've been kind of waiting for an opportunity to push a pre-existing agenda on the country, and it makes people really nervous. Can you see why?
Well, not that they're waiting for the next event, but I think it's, we have had several events in the past years, and I think there are some people that believe in gun control. I don't believe in gun control. I think, you can have responsible people do the right thing with a gun, but unfortunately sometimes you get a situation like this that it's hard to explain, but just taking guns away from everybody is not going to solve the issue.
Why do people keep saying that? I mean, can you think of a single place in the United States that has become safe because of gun control?
No.
Right, and I don't think anyone else can think of one either, so then why do people keep proposing it?
Well, there's some people that just feel that guns are the problem, but I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. As you know, I don't believe that. I'm a big believer in the Second Amendment, but there's some people who feel that you got to take guns away.
This is a totally non-political and sincere question, and I don't know the answer to it. There were no mass shootings when you were a kid. And there's one, University of Texas, Chuck Whitman, 1962.
That's right.
Who had a brain tumor. But they weren't a feature of American life. What's changed? What is going on, actually?
I don't know, but again, you got to look at every individual case and let's see what the investigators find out. I mean, there's got to be something. Let's see what happened in this particular case.
Yeah, I just hope that we in the press aren't adding to it. It's something that we think about a lot. We don't want to be part of the problem.
I mean, the stories that we heard are just, it's incredible.
They are incredible.